Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Ongue forced a smile on his face and said, "Old mister, that might not be the best thing to do. After all, Daluo is one of the most reputable generals in Lulan. If he dies, I'm afraid that Lulan will fall into chaos. If Daluo has done anything wrong, I'll order him to atone for it. This young man may state his conditions." Daluo disapproved of this. However, he said, "Just state your conditions. I'll agree to anything." Smack. Ming Shirin slammed his palm on the table, causing his wine to spill. He rose to his feet. "Daluo, is it?" The others looked at him. Daluo frowned and asked, "You are? I admire your bravery. Who gave you the courage to talk to my eldest senior brother like that?" "Eldest senior brother?" Daluo was puzzled. Ming Shirin spread his hands and said helplessly, "I can see there isn't any sincerity in your hospitality. Didn't anyone learn anything about the evil sky pavilion before we came? The young man whom you're talking to is the master of the greatest fiend path sect under the heavens, Zhenghai." The great hall was even more silent now. Even the sound of a falling needle could be heard. Naturally, everyone knew the master of the greatest fiend path sect under the heavens was Zhenghai. They knew Zhenghai was the first disciple of the evil sky pavilion as well. However, they could not reconcile the sect master whose name shocked the lands and flattened the divine capital with this young man in front of them. Daluo staggered backward in shock and disbelief. The king of Lulan, Ongue, was similarly shocked. Ming Shirin nodded in satisfaction. This was the attitude and expressions they were supposed to have. Daluo gulped before he said, "You're Zhenghai?" Ming Shirin said, "In the flesh." His voice was crisp and powerful as it resounded in the great hall. At this moment, Zhou raised his wine cup and toasted the king of Lulan again. Perhaps, he was too nervous. Ongue's cup slipped out of his hand. Crash. The wine cup fell to the floor and shattered, and the wine flowed like a stream from the main table to the floor of the great hall like a dragon snaking toward Daluo. It was Daluo's fate and time. King Ongue said hoarsely, "I hereby decree that Daluo and his whole family will be sentenced to death." Thud. Daluo fell to his knees and pleaded, "Your Majesty. You mustn't be led astray. The 12 nations have an alliance. If you give the order, the royal city's grand formation can be activated, and we'll surely be able to kill them all in one fell swoop." Ongue shook his head and waved his sleeve. One fell swoop. Who would go against a 9-leaf cultivator? A hooded shaman standing at Ongue's left understood Ongue's intention. He joined his palms together and began to chant. The wine flowing on the floor turned into a purple dragon. Before Daluo could react, the huge purple dragon brandished its claws and fangs as it twined around him. Crack. Daluo's neck was broken just like that. The high-ranking officials of Lulan sighed. In front of the strong, the weak did not even have the power to struggle. It was the survival of the fittest. If they had a choice, would they hurt one of their own? Some of them began to cry. Ongue poured himself another cup of wine. He raised it with both hands and said, "Old mister. Are you satisfied with that?" Zhou pointed at Zhenghai who was standing. His meaning was clear, "Ask him." Ongue looked at young Zhenghai and said in a clear voice, "Young Mr. First, are you satisfied with this?" He swallowed the words, "A young man." Zhenghai looked at Daluo on the floor. Then, he made a shocking move. He removed his jasper saber from his waist as he walked to Daluo and brought it down on Daluo's corpse. Bam! An energy saber cleaved Daluo into two. The others covered their faces, unwilling to watch. Zhenghai said, "Lulan rules its kingdom with witchcraft. With this, he's truly dead." Ongue. The other people of Lulan. The great hall fell silent again for the umpteenth time. Zhenghai sheathed his jasper saber and returned to his seat as though nothing had happened. Ming Shirin smacked his thigh. "Heh, I almost forgot. He could have been revived with witchcraft. That's too sneaky." How dare you play games? Ongue started. He immediately put his cup down and said, Men. Soldiers rushed into the hall. Your Majesty. I hereby decree that Daluo's family be executed instantly. Hang their heads for all shamans to see as a warning. As you command. The Lulan soldiers departed from the hall. Mingshir nodded. That's more like it. Ongue dared not play tricks, nor could he. Zhenghai's slash was killing the chicken to scare the monkey, and he was also making a deliberate show of his strength. Ongue raised his wine cup again. Old mister? Zhou nodded in satisfaction. We'll leave this matter at that. Ongue was relieved. He said, as for the 12 allied nations, Lulan has never considered joining them. There's no need to worry about this, old mister. All right. Zhou raised his wine cup. A wise man submits to circumstances. I admire tactful men the most. Men, Ongue said again. Several soldiers entered. King Ongue ordered, summon the head of the Bonner family, Zhenghai. As you command. While they waited for Zhenghai, Mingshir said in a carefree manner, well? Let's eat. Elder Lang, Elder Pan, eldest senior brother. The others moved their chopsticks. There were many people present at the banquet. The dishes were sumptuous, and yet, to the high-ranking officials of Lulan, they tasted like ashes in their mouths. During the entire time, they were either distracted or fearing for their lives. It was truly difficult to endure. After some time, Zhenghai, the head of the Bonner family, entered the great hall, escorted by several shamans. He fell to one knee and placed his right hand on his chest before he said, Hail, Your Majesty. Ongue ignored Zhenghai. He was afraid to associate with Zhenghai since Zhenghai might end up like Daluo. He turned to Zhou and said, Old mister, Zhenghai is here. Zhou placed his wine cup on the table and looked at the person rumored to be in control of the Bonner family, Zhenghai. Zhenghai looked to be over 70 years old and had a peculiar aura. This was a bona fide witchcraft cultivator with a profound cultivation base. Zhou did not beat around the bush. Do you know why I wanted to meet you? Zhenghai looked up with a solemn expression and shook his head. Kindly enlighten me, old mister. My memory crystal is in your possession. Zhenghai's expression did not change as he said, I've never heard of such a thing. Zhou was in no hurry. Instead, he raised a palm. The wine jar beside him floated and poured wine into his cup. The wine fell into the cup in a straight line. When the jar was lifted, the stream of wine stopped flowing. What do you think is the name of this wine? Zhou asked in a leisurely manner. Zhenghai seemed at a loss. He shook his head and said, I swear in the name of the Bonner family. I've never heard of a memory crystal before. Zhou placed his palm on the table. The wine from the cup floated in the air. It picked up speed and spun in the air as a golden energy shrouded it. Soon after, energy shot out from it. Swoosh. The energy shot toward Zhenghai's forehead at lightning speed. Then, it came to an abrupt halt. The others exclaimed in shock, amazed by the precise control. So this was what a 9-leaf cultivator was like? Even Pan Litian and Lang Luo were stunned. Zhenghai, who was still on one knee on the ground, instantly broke out in cold sweat when he saw this. If a cultivator could condense liquid into energy, wrap it with energy while exerting precise control over it to the point that it could kill, he was most certainly an elite among elites. Usually, cultivators would use a weapon as the core so that they could condense energy swiftly and pack the greatest power into it. With a weapon, they could create more energy seals. For something without shape, such as wine, it was difficult to form energy. Moreover, it might even reduce the force of the energy. The only advantage it had was to raise one's competence in condensing energy. Usually, this skill was only used to show off. If the conical energy had moved a little closer, the outcome would have been deadly. Although Zhenghai had a high status as the most powerful person in the Bonner family, he could not help but consider his options at this moment. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Do you really think that I won't kill you? Zhou placed his hands on his back as he rose to his feet and descended the stairs. Upon seeing this, those from Lulan rose to their feet as well and bowed. Zhenghai shuddered as he said, "Old mister, I'm not refusing to give you your crystal, but the royal tutor has said that the Bonner family will pay a heavy price if I give the crystal up." Royal tutor? When the royal tutor was mentioned, King Ongue said, "Lord Royal Tutor is Lulan's benefactor. He's held in high esteem here. Even I would have to be polite to him." Zhou understood now. He knew who this royal tutor was. Jiang Wenxiu must have been living the life everywhere he went. He wanted to become the greatest being in this world. Zhou looked at the kneeling Zhenghai and said, "You're afraid of his threat, but you're not afraid of mine?" "I am, but what can I do?" Zhenghai replied after he gulped. "Where is the royal tutor now?" Zhou asked. The fourth reason for his visit was Jiang Wenxiu. Jiang Wenxiu wanted to kill him, a 9-leaf cultivator. How was he going to do that without showing up? Zhenghai said, "I don't know." Bam. The energy seal formed by the wine morphed into a palm that struck Zhenghai's chest. Zhenghai reeled from the impact. He flew out of the hall and crashed onto the floor. Zhou stepped forward with his hands on his back and said, "The Bonner family has taunted the evil Sky Pavilion time and time again. I've yet to hold you accountable for your transgressions, but you have the audacity to seek death? In that case, I'll fulfill your wish and treat this as your reckoning." The 4 shamans ran out and helped Zhenghai to his feet. At this moment, the witchcraft cultivator at the left side of the hall stood up and said, "Old mister, His Majesty has killed his greatest helper, General Daluo, for you. This is already a show of the utmost sincerity. Will you only believe in our sincerity after killing everyone in Lulan?" Zhou glanced at him out of the corners of his eye. He said lightly, "Even if I massacre everyone in Lulan, what's it to you?" His confidence was apparent to everyone. The Lulan cultivators present trembled in fear. None of them dared to speak up. The atmosphere was incredibly suffocating now. King Ongue said, "Zhenghai, please surrender the crystal for Lulan's sake." Zhenghai seemed to be in a dilemma. He said, "Your Majesty, the Bonner family has sworn fealty to the royal city for generations. Could it be that you're thinking of sacrificing the entire Bonner family as well, Your Majesty?" Ongue knew he was being ruthless. However, faced with a 9-leaf cultivator, he had no other choice. He could not afford to gamble. His expression was resolute as he said, "I order you to surrender the crystal. Return it to the old mister." Pu, the great 9-leaf cultivator of Great Yen aside, Lulan, in its current state, was no match for Great Yen. Ongue had no choice but to sacrifice an individual for the greater good. As long as Green Hills remain, there would be no need to worry about firewood. However, if the Green Hills were gone, Lulan would truly be done for. Zhenghai's heart sank. He looked at his king and said, "Your Majesty, Lanny, Xian, and Bazir are dead. When has the Bonner family ever wronged Lulan?" The other 4 shamans looked at King Ongue as well. Zhenghai was right. When did the Bonner family ever wrong Lulan? Bazir has guarded the borders for a century for Lulan. Everyone fearfully respected General Bazir. The people of Lulan know how great the Bonner family is. Are you really going to disregard the people? How are you going to explain this to them? Zhenghai's emotions were clearly surging. Mingxian felt speechless. After a while, he said, "What a bunch of nonsense." The others turned to look at Mingxian, who emerged from the hall. Based on what happened earlier, they knew this man was adept at stirring up trouble and finding faults. He was not an easy character to deal with. Their instincts told them that he would certainly bring trouble with him again. Lanny Bonner brought Tiango and the red coffin to the evil Sky Pavilion, taunted my master, and ordered Tiango to attack my little junior sister who didn't know how to cultivate. Let me ask you, should he die? Zhenghai could not refute these words. Xian Bonner and Bazir Bonner wanted to kill my second senior brother when they themselves were incompetent. Is it wrong for my second senior brother to defend himself? Do those 2 deserve to die? Zhenghai. Lulan has always been on good terms with Great Yen. The families of our monarchs are even related by marriage. Yet, your Bonner family has invaded Great Yen several times when we were experiencing internal turmoil, and you colluded with Rowley. You're the one who brought this upon Lu Lan. You're the greatest sinner in Lu Lan who should be cursed for 10,000 years. Lanhai Bonner's eyes widened as he took several steps backward. The high-ranking officials present could not help but shake their heads. They continued to retreat. Mingxirin said gruffly, "You won't even listen to orders from your king. Are you trying to rebel?" Lanhai shuddered. Shortly after, he looked to the side and smiled forlornly. "Your Majesty, you made me do this. The Bonner family will never yield. Activate the formation." Whiz. Outside the palace hall, purple witchcraft circles flew up into the curtain-like barrier in the sky. The other officials appeared shocked before they began to rebuke him. "Lanhai, are you out of your mind? Stop it at once." Ongue frowned and said, "Are you rebelling?" Lanhai said agitatedly, "The royal tutor has instructed the Bonner family to defend it with our lives." "Royal tutor?" The others exchanged a look. They were shocked. The royal tutor had been missing for many years. How was he going to support them? Whiz. Another purple radiant circle shot toward the sky. The others walked out of the great hall and looked at the sky. The Grand Witchcraft Formation, which had never been activated before, was going to be activated today. On this day, even a 9-leaf cultivator will die here. Lanhai was getting more agitated as time passed. The sky was completely lit up at the moment. Witchcraft permeated the royal city. Lu Zhou stepped forward with his hands on his back. The crowd parted for him. Mingxirin took one step back. When Lu Zhou emerged from the great hall, he raised his right arm and struck with his palm. Buddhist Great Seal of Fearlessness. The shining golden palm shot out. When the 5 witchcraft cultivators saw this, they formed a barricade and pushed their palms out. Bam. 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 One of them reeled back, bringing the remaining 3 down with him. They spat out blood. The final shaman could not stop the attack. His back rammed into Lanhai's chest, and the 2 of them reeled together. Thud. They crashed to the ground. Lu Zhou was not pleased with the palm strike. Perhaps, he had gotten used to taking out his opponent with a single strike from his extraordinary power. Now that he was using the power from his cultivation base, he found it somewhat lacking in power. In truth, hitting 5 individuals with a single palm strike and injuring all of them was already a terrifying feat. Everyone looked at the 5 defeated men. They were shocked. Indeed, the legendary 9-leaf cultivator was, indeed, terrifying. Men were like that, often misled by appearance. Even if Lu Zhou unleashed a 2-leaf palm seal, due to his identity as a 9-leaf cultivator, they would surely think his palm seal is terrifying. The 5 men were shocked. They stared at Lu Zhou as though he was a great enemy. Lu Zhou placed his hands on his back and said indifferently, "Since the Bonner family has made a choice, I'll fulfill your wishes." He raised his right hand again. At this moment, several witchcraft cultivators appeared in the skies, maintaining the purple curtain in the sky. More and more cultivators gathered. King Ongue looked up and hastily explained, "Who mobilized the royal guards?" At the center of the sky curtain, a figure moved swiftly into the Grand Witchcraft Formation. He was glowing with a purple aura, and his body was concealed by a purple cloak and hood. His eyes glowed faintly red, and his facial expressions were obscured by a mist. The mysterious shaman looked down from the sky and slowly said, "The great 9-leaf cultivator of Great Yen." How impressive! When the mysterious shaman spoke, the high-ranking officials of Lu Lan, Lanhai, and his 4 subordinates fell to one knee. With a sincere tone, they said, "Hail, Lord Royal Tutor." Lu Zhou looked up and studied the figure in the sky. He said tonelessly, "Jiang Wenxiu, you finally showed up.